Yeah, excited to have you here, man.
Thanks for having me.
Brandon Gray.
That's
Shop's name. Right now it's somewhat virtual, but it's Brandoni Pepperoni.
That's me.
Am I pronouncing that right?
It's perfect.
Tell me more about Brandoni Pepperoni.
Brandoni Pepperoni started off about 2 years ago during the pandemic. April 7th is actually
Coming up.
It's coming up. That'll
Yeah.
be 2 years right there.
Yeah.
Started off as a joke, to be completely honest. A good friend of mine, high school friend, asked me if I knew how to make deep dish. I lied. I said, of course I do. Never made pizza a day in my life. And she commissioned me for 4 pizzas. I called my best friend right after. I told her about the new commission job. She was like, look, I haven't eaten all day. Can you make me a pizza as well? And I'm just like, wait a minute, is this a thing? She's like, I don't see why not. And I was just like, I don't even have a name for this. And within 5 minutes, we had Brandoni Pepperoni, and I was selling pizzas from there.
So Brandoni Pepperoni, how did you come up with that? Did your friend come up with that?
My best friend came up with the idea.
Okay.
My mom used to call me Brandoni as a child, and, Brandoni, pepperoni sort of kind of just went hand in hand, tongue in cheek.
It works.
Yeah.
It works. And so April 7th, 2020, man.
Right during the pandemic.
What a moment
Right.
to get into
Right.
and launch a small business. How were the first couple of weeks or first month? What was it like to get going? What were some of the biggest question marks you had?
It just started off as supplemental income. I was helping a colleague of mine run his business, and I wanted to do something on the side just to sort of kind of get my name out there. And what it is now, I'm here in New York talking to you at Slice headquarters. Was that my dream 2 years ago? No, it was only just to make a few extra $100 in a month. I think about 1 month after the business had opened up, it had landed in the hands of Evan Kleiman, who's NPR. And she spoke about it on the radio. And then after that, a month later, I was in the Los Angeles Times. So from April to July, I was already in one of the biggest publications in the world, the Los Angeles Times. And it's just sort of kind of...
Yeah, it's an amazing story, and we'll get into some of the details of the journey. I want to go back to, you said you know how to make pizza, but certainly you delivered on the promise, even if the initial promise was something you kind of just, said yes to.
Right.
Walk me through the first 3 pizzas that you made for your friend. How did the end product become so special?
I think it's just using all California products. Everything came from the farmers market. So I've been going to the farmers market since 2016. So I've forged these wonderful relationships with the farmers. And I knew that anything that I was going to put my name on, I would not sacrifice an integrity of the ingredient. So the first few pizzas all sort of kind of all the produce came from the farmers market. And I was using local flowers from California as well. So it just went with the whole philosophy, my whole food philosophy.
I want to zoom back out and go to earlier days of your philosophy and making great product and food. You're a chef, by trade. Started off in the Navy.
Correct.
How did that come to be?
I think 17, getting out of high school, didn't really have an exact plan with what I wanted to do. I was in the Boy Scouts at a very young age, so I transitioned from the Boy Scouts to the military. It was a fairly easy transition because all of the troop leaders had served in the Vietnam War. So they were sort of kind of if you don't have anything planned as far as college, maybe the military is the best option for you. So I did that for 4 years and served as a cook/chef. And that was sort of kind of the start point for me.
And so 4 years in the Navy, preparing food for your fellow.
Right. So I was on small ships. So the personnel was probably anything between 400 and 500 people.
That's a small ship.
That's a small ship.
What's a big ship?
Oh, we're talking 5,000 or more. It's like an island, a floating island. But I was very fortunate to work for the officers. So essentially 20 to 30 of the highest personnel people.
Highest ranking officers.
Yep.
Yeah. And so you would be the sort of head chef on this
correct
on this ship.
Right.
400 or 500 people. What were some of your most interesting stories from that journey? At least one. Give us one.
How about this? On my 19th birthday, we pulled into Rome. So I got to experience like true Roman style pizza at 19 years old. And
That's
I
amazing.
remember trying it and I was just like, this isn't that good.
Yeah.
It's not that good. And, fast forward like dang near 20 years and I'm making pizza now.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
Which is in your mind much better than the original.
I'd like to think so. I'm curious to go back to that restaurant and try it all over again.
I think you should do that. I think you should find a way to make it back there and see what it's like today.
Italy's definitely on the travel scope for sure.
What do you think is the gap geographically for, great pizza? And I'll say it this way simply. A lot of people associate New York with great pizza. But when they think of LA, generally speaking, they don't think of great pizza. And there's a lot of stories about, is it the New York water and, all these things. And these are all obviously not necessarily true. What do you think is the gap between okay pizza and like great pizza in any geography?
Well, I think pizza as a whole, it's all subjective. You may like a tangy sauce. I may like a sweet sauce. This person may like a savory sauce.
Yeah.
So I think it's all up for discussion. And at the end of the day, no one's really wrong. I think my pizza, for example, I'm trying to use the product that's available to me within 200 miles. So that's my style of pizza. Whether you like it or you don't, it's my style. It's what makes me happy at the end of the night. Like I use everything from flour to tomatoes to the produce, all coming from California. So I'm not skipping on that. As far as like New York being the best pizza, sure, maybe it was, but now I think California, there's been a big emergence of pizza places opening up and
It's somewhat of a renaissance.
super.
Yeah. And I think, the takeaway for me, and this is really consistently coming up, which is authenticity. You're not trying to be somebody else. You're not trying to create a product that somebody else created.
No.
You're creating a product that you believe in.
Right.
And your beliefs come across in the product, which ultimately lead to a great product.
Right. I think that the best way to describe it is my first day in the military, they flew me out to Bahrain. So essentially from age 18 to 37, I've have a lot of like world travels. So essentially my pizza is taking the flavor profiles that I've learned all within like this big gap and just putting that on a pizza canvas. So my pizza is just personal to me. It's more personal than anything for me.
The message I want to send across, and look, the listeners of How You Slice It, I hope are the thousands of other pizza shop owners across the world, future entrepreneurs and operators who aspire to open up their own shop. And I think education is, in my opinion, the biggest gap. And when that education starts becoming more democratized, and some of the stories of what makes a special pizza maker become more available, I believe it'll lead to much greater pizza and authentic pizza being available in more parts of the world. And this is, again, why I think stressing this point is super important.
Right.
Too many people that I meet that have subpar products are really a derivative of them wanting to be somebody else, them wanting to recreate something someone else created.
Right.
And by default, that leads to a subpar experience.
Yeah, I think like I've been cooking ever since I was like 11 years old. And food is just so personal to me that I couldn't give you someone else's experience, even if I wanted to. So, my pizza or the food that I cook for friends and family, like it's extremely personal to me. So that's all I can do.
Turning the page, what has you really passionate about sort of converting this idea on the end product and being sort of this amazing chef to then owning your own pizza shop? Because being a chef is one thing, owning a business, running a business is a whole new challenge.
Right.
What has you really excited about that?
The transition, I think I've been working in fine dining from like 25 to 35. So, sort of kind of being in like that black and white, like everything has to be extremely meticulous. And I think for the last 2 years, I've tried to take what I've learned from fine dining and implement that into my sort of like business philosophy, but also have fun with it as well.
Yeah.
Like I think pizza, I just realized that pizza is like the number one food in the entire world.
Yeah.
So if you're not having fun doing like using ingredients and just making fun of it, then the love will never come across. So as I transition into like this pizza journey, I think I've even dove a little bit more within like the last month, even going to like Pizza Expo a couple of weeks ago. My eyes are just like, I'm like a sponge. I like to consider myself a sponge. And like all the knowledge that I've taken within like the last 3 to 4 weeks, it has me more excited about pizza. I think for the first year and 10, 11 months, I had to keep up with the demand. So now that I've, went from working like 7 days a week to now 3 days a week, it gives me a little bit more time to sort of kind of like perfect my craft before introducing it to the masses.
To the world.
Yeah.
You've come a long way in your journey so far, and we'll talk a little bit more about where your journey is going. But you've certainly already overcome a lot of the challenges that you thought existed or barriers you thought existed before you took any steps forward. If we were to go back in, April of 2020, what were some of the barriers, mental barriers, that you had before you kind of took a leap? And in hindsight, do you think that those were, like how can future entrepreneurs overcome some of the barriers that exist mentally for us as people, as humans, to then overcome them and take that leap forward into business ownership?
I think a lot of people look at the hospitality industry as it being something potentially easy if you're on the outside looking in. But being that I've been in this profession for damn near 18, 19 years, it's hard. It's extremely hard. And it's only getting harder with minimum wage going up, prices of goods going up, rent going up. So anyone that's out there who's embarking on a new journey, do your homework first. Like that's probably the most important thing. And before trying to open up, maybe invite like a whole bunch of friends over to test your product out.
Love that idea.
Writing recipes down. Like a lot of businesses open up without even having food costed out. That's like big no-no. Because essentially for that food that's going out of the door, if you don't have it costed out, how do you know how much profit you're making?
Right. How do you know how much to charge?
Right.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite restaurants in Los Angeles, it's a Thai restaurant. And essentially all prices on the menu are about $7.99, nothing more than $9.99.
Interesting.
And, I wonder, are they really making money, or are they content with just like having a name and brand for themselves? Are they not worried about the money? It's hard not to be like capitalistic in this world, but maybe they're just doing it for the love,
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Where did you go for help around this topic? How did you get help, or did you get help, or an understanding of these dynamics?
I was sort of kind of self-taught. So I think from like age 18, maybe up until age 30, I was just a line cook. I've held like some pretty high titles, but for the most part, I was just working as a line cook, or just doing what the head chef was saying. I had opened up a seafood market under Chef Michael Samarusi, probably like he's like what Eric Repair is to seafood in New York to California. I was running a seafood market and essentially like I was thrown into the general manager role position after 6 months of the shop being open. And, I had to sort of kind of like look at prices a little bit differently. So it wasn't anything that I had learned necessarily in the restaurant industry. It was an opportunity of having a higher position like a general manager and having to pay attention to all these things a lot more carefully, especially with seafood being such like a high perishable ingredient. You can't mess that up.
Can't mess with it.
So I think ever since then, and I think I love the money aspect, who doesn't want to gain more on return? So
Of course.
what a lot of people don't do is yield test. Yield test is probably one of the things that they don't teach you. Yeah, you can food cost something, but if you use pineapple on a pizza, it costs $3.99 for one pineapple, right? Well, the reality is you can't serve everything on that pineapple, right? It's probably like a 65%, 70% edible yield. So you have to account for that. If you don't account for that, then that $3.99 pineapple now becomes a little bit more expensive. So these are some of the small things that I try to teach people who are interested about the hospitality industry.
Can you talk a little bit more about yield? What are some other examples, super simple examples that shop owners or operators can?
Sure.
How can they incorporate that in their own day-to-day?
Consistency. Consistency is one of my biggest things.
Yep.
So utilizing, either ice cream scoops for cheeses, ladles, and, not someone having a heavy hand because, if this pizza gets 100 grams of tomato sauce, but this guy is using like a bigger spoon to where now he's using 125, 130 grams. Now the consumer doesn't look at the pizza as being consistent because
It's a different product.
It's a different product.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be a lot more watery. Pizza is sort of kind of like a science if you think about it.
It is. Art and science.
Yeah. And it's so funny, like I actually brought my modernist cuisine encyclopedia on the plane over here. So I've been reading it. Like it was dropped in my lap maybe about a month and a half, 2 months ago, and I had never even opened it up.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my gosh, there's just so much knowledge here.
Yeah.
Like I almost feel like I'm a student all over again. And listen, I don't have it all figured out. I'm still learning,
I think the mentality of constant learning is probably, and including for me as a business owner, has been the number one recipe for success. Is just consistently have sort of the mentality that we're always learning, and there's a bunch of things that we just don't have figured out.
Right.
On sort of the topic of ingredients and yield, but specifically on your creative ambitions, there's some examples on your Instagram of some really unique products, really unique combinations that end up making it on a pizza.
Right.
What inspires you to go to that level of creative thinking?
I think if you're not having fun cooking, then it'll never come across like you're invested in the product. So like I said, I've done a lot of like world travels, and maybe from March 2019 to about October 2019, I was literally on a plane to either a new city or a new country every single month. And one of the places that I went to, I usually go every year around my birthday, is Mexico City. This time I went to Mexico City and Oaxaca. Barbacoa is probably like one of my favorite things in Los Angeles to eat. And when I went to Oaxaca, it was just, I always call it like the Ratatoullie moment. It's when you have it, it just takes you back to like this wonderful moment as like a kid or something like that. And one of the pizzas that I have on the menu is called Californication. And all of the pizza titles are all like West Coast hip hop songs and or West Coast like songs. So Californication, Red Hot Chili Peppers, one of my favorite groups. It's essentially barbacoa on a pizza vessel. I look at the blank canvas of one pizza dough, and how can you make it interesting to where maybe someone else thought about it and was just like, man, that would be cool if this idea happened. But yeah, it's steamed lamb shoulder. Wow. Make like a salsa baracha, some pickled red onions, some Oaxacan cheese, and like micro cilantro and flowers on top. It's super.
You're making me hungry, man.
Right. It's super aggressive But it's just having fun with it, you know?
But again, like you're going for it. You're taking that leap. You're being bold, and I think it's really inspiring. And I want more people to kind of have that courage to go for it, and really, I think, make sure that we don't think of it as a risk. Instead, it's actually, to your point, having a lot of fun.
Right.
You touched on California, West Coast. I mean, I look at you. It's LA hat, LA shirt. Clippers fan.
Oh yeah.
I hear.
Yes.
Where's the whole sort of California theme passion coming from you? Is it sort of consistent with the authenticity of who you are?
Yeah. So I grew up in essentially like a 10-mile bubble.
Yeah.
And everything that I knew was in proximity within 10 miles. I have LA tattooed on me. Like it's just in my DNA. Like I don't even know what LA means to other people, but it's just like it's something that I just embody. And I wanted to make sure that I stayed consistent with that brand, like even the merch itself is like the number on the jersey is number 44 of Darryl Strawberry, my favorite baseball player. The shorts are from the Clippers 1996 season, in which like I started becoming a Clipper fan.
Yeah.
So everything has a story to it, but it's just details. I love details. I think working in fine dining, it made you pay attention to details a lot more. But I just wanted the pizza to have details. I wanted the merch to have details. Like everything has a purpose.
Yeah. What do you say to Met fans who say Darryl Strawberry should be in a Mets uniform?
I second that. He won a World Series with you guys. So
yeah.
Darryl Strawberry didn't have the best days in LA, and he was on the San Francisco Giants as well. So
that's right. Right. From the products that you have created that have now become staples of your menu, and I love your menu pizza names. What is the one that's sort of most special to you? That's like the staple.
Born and Raised, I think, is probably one of them. It's so my dough is essentially like a Neapolitan dough.
Yeah.
But instead of it being anything between 250 grams to 290 on the high end for a Neapolitan pizza, I go a little bit heavier on my dough. I use 350 grams. Some people may say, whoa, you're just essentially just like throwing away money. But my favorite pizza growing up was Pizza Hut. Like I love the texture of the thickness of Pizza Hut pizza. But the Born and Raised is essentially like my ode to like a margherita pizza.
Yeah.
Utilizes like 5 to 7 different types of basils, farmer's market tomatoes, some sun-dried tomatoes, like this beautiful oregano from one of the farms. Like that's sort of kind of like one of the top sellers, and Colors is probably another one of my favorites.
Walk us through Colors.
Colors is mozzarella cheese, tomato sauce, spicy Italian sausage, in which it's a mimic of Jimmy Dean sausage.
Okay.
Jimmy Dean, like, if you didn't grow up in a household eating Jimmy Dean, man, I'm sorry for you.
What were you doing?
What were you doing?
Right.
And then broccolini from one of my farmers, Coleman Farms in Los Angeles. Then has beautiful arrangements, like some broccoli flowers. So essentially it's just utilizing the entire brassica broccoli.
Yeah. What I love and what I'm learning from you is this approach to pizza and food as an art form. And just like a musician who's creating an album, and every album has a set of records, each one has a name because there's a theme behind it. It seems to me like you're taking such a similar approach to your products. The names have meaning. The end product is connected to the name, and then all of that is connected to who you are.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that as an approach to being a pizza maker, and what can others learn from that sort of theme?
Just be authentic, like we had touched on a little bit earlier. Just don't try to do someone else's product. Do what resonates with you. Like I said, like just using, like I could have used a classic Italian sausage meat recipe, but I even put like Thai chilies in there. Like that's unconventional.
Yeah.
I think when you think about like even in the tomato sauce, there's a little bit of Thai chili flakes. that's a little secret right there, but it's going against the grain in what people associate with it being one thing. Like, I think people think of pizza as a very linear thing, but there's so much room for like improvement and growth with it that's my approach.
Yeah.
I just want to make it my own.
And similar to, other artists in other forms of art, let's use music as an example. Once an artist drops an album, they don't stop and say, well, yeah, that's my album, and here's the set of records on the album. They are consistently looking for, ways to improve themselves, and they always strive for that in their next album. And I think what I appreciate about you is sort of this consistent journey to create more records, just in the form of pizza.
Right. I look at, I know he's under like a lot of scrutiny and whatnot, but like look at Kanye West for a perfect example.
Yeah.
Look at his intro album. Look at his album following that, the album following that. Then you have like Yeezus, where it's just like completely aggressive. So it's like he's wanted to evolve so much just as an artist to where no two bodies of work look exactly the same.
Yeah.
And I think that was sort of kind of like my approach with pizza. Like I know this pizza place is doing that and that and that, but like let's flip it on its head, Let's do it this way.
And I think that's just such a differentiated and important approach to staying relevant, to introduce products to your existing customer base who are always then looking for, new ways of experiencing your brand and your art form. And to make sure that your menu doesn't become stale.
Right.
And
I never wanted to be stagnant. Like,
exactly.
Never.
Exactly. And I think that's just such an important takeaway from this conversation. What allows you to be really authentic, not allows you, this is by design, is your locally sourced approach. And I know you touched on it earlier, but walk me through, why are you, like, what drives that passion for, locally sourced products and ingredients? How do you make that work for you?
So the great thing about California produce is there are some restaurants in New York who get certain products sent from California to their restaurant.
Tomatoes being the core one.
Yep.
Yeah.
With the abundance of produce that California gets, I wanted to treat the menu as sort of kind of like a revolving door, in the sense of, yes, corn may only be in season for this amount of period of time, but I'm going to use the best corn on this pizza or whatever ingredient on the menu. But once it's gone, it's gone. So it almost sort of gives like the exclusivity to it. And I think when you work with the seasons, you're utilizing the best product at the best optimal time. So, when me that I've worked in like these like high caliber restaurants across the world, like even worked in a restaurant in Australia where we essentially grew our produce. So someone would go to the farm 7:00 in the morning, pick all the edible garnishes, and then it was on the plate at 6:00 at night. I think when you have that appreciation for food and just like knowing where the product comes from, why wouldn't I want to use that?
Yeah.
Like, it has more flavor. Like, I'm not just saying it. Like, there's a reason why arugula grown or like harvested like 2 months ago or a month ago is amazing at that point because it's super spicy. Like, I love flowering arugula because it's a lot on the spicier side, a lot more bitter a little bit as well. So the product is everything. The product is everything. And I never wanted to deviate from utilizing sort of like the best products because the product is going to taste a little bit better.
Yeah. And what are some pieces of advice you would share with pizza makers around the world on how they can connect better with their local community and locally sort of local farmers, and how can others get sort of closer to the opportunity to source their products and their ingredients locally?
Trial and error, like going to the local farmers market and just establishing a rapport with these people. Asking questions like, I see the squash is in season, but when is the best time to get the squash?
Yeah.
It's just asking questions. I go to the farmer's market every single Wednesday. I've been doing that ever since 2016. Go to the farmer's market every Wednesday. And you just trial and error. Like there can be 10 different farmers who have peas, but you pick one pea pod up from this farmer, you crack them open, you eat them. Okay, these don't taste like anything, and you go to the next one. And then you source who has the best product. Like,
You have to go out there and do it.
you just have to do it.
Yeah. I'm really excited for you because you're about to turn this passion and art form into a full-blown pizza shop. And we quickly spoke about that before we started recording. Another fellow pizza shop owner is in fact partnering with you in a way to help you get off the ground and kind of give you a foundation, a platform for your brand and your products. Walk us through that. Tell us what can we expect? When can storefront be open?
Back up a couple. When I started the pizza business, it wasn't because I was in love with pizza. This is me being extremely vulnerable.
Of course.
It wasn't because I was in love with pizza. Like I probably only ate pizza maybe a few times a year. And I know that that's probably sacrilegious to a lot of people. But I love it. I love everything about it. Like the tomatoes, the different types of cheeses that are out there on the market, different types of hydration. Like I look at food as like a science and sort of kind of like perfecting the search for perfection. It's not attainable, but the closer that we can get to it, the better.
Yeah.
I just probably got way more excited about pizza within like the last month. Like I live, eat, sleep. All I think about is pizza. So I think the overall product that I will try to put out there to the world for the masses is something that, I don't claim to know it all. I had an extremely great pizza mentor, Evan Funky, sort of kind of like helping me with my pizza recipe. Very fortunate about that. And yeah, I think when the doors open to Brandoni's, just know that you are getting the most honest, the most vulnerable aspects of what I represent. And, I'm looking at a brick and mortar location right now. Hopefully within the next 6 months, we could sell that first za out the window. But it's picking like the perfect location. It's, partnering up with the people who want to see your vision all the way through. It's not being extremely overzealous in this process. I sit there and think about it like I took 2 years to get to this moment. I don't want to scooch the pooch, I want to just make sure I dot all my I's and cross all my T's to where everything just makes sense and it's extremely cohesive and I feel amazing about it. So, 6 months, hopefully, we'll have doors open.
I'm really, really excited for you. And you recently went to the Pizza Expo. I've been there and I've attended since 2010, but I think this was your first time. And
It was.
What was that experience like?
As soon as I walked through the door, I saw Wiley Dufresne of WD50. We asked him a couple questions. I was like, "Are you in the pizza market now?" He was like, "I guess I am." So it's just, I look at him and I look at him as like, I admire him because he's done like fine dining and that's sort of kind of like my background. So for him to get in something like pizza, it's just like, man, like that's cool. But I think just seeing what other products are out there, I didn't even realize that the cheese that I was using on my pizza is sort of kind of like the Cadillac of cheeses. I did not know that. So, I'm just still finding out like what other products are out there and I'm open.
Do you view the pizza world as a community?
Yes, I think the brotherhood and sisterhood of pizza is definitely out there. I have 2 mentors who have sort of kind of like held my hand throughout this process. And, I owe a lot to them, Evan Funky being one of them, even just having a friend of James of Prime Pizza. And just, utilizing the resources that you have. I think just surrounding yourself with people who see your vision out, who want to help, genuinely help. I think that's probably one of the first steps of opening up a business. Relying on people that you can call no matter what time of the day to sort of kind of just like pick their brain about something. And then just do your own homework, to be honest.
Yeah.
There's a line in Jiro Dreams of Sushi. You must dedicate yourself to your craft. And if you don't have dedication, then what are we really doing?
Then why are you there?
Why are you there?
Yeah.
If you don't love what you do and do what you love, just stop there.
I'm going to ask this question because it's something that keeps any entrepreneur up. But I also want to ask it because I think it can help entrepreneurs alleviate this feeling of being alone. What is your number one fear going into the brick and mortar opportunity?
Success. One could easily look at the business and say, wow, you've been extremely successful the last 2 years. But I think the first year it was during the pandemic. And I created a model before all restaurants sort of kind of pivoted to that model. So I was takeout and delivery April 7th. And a lot of restaurants didn't sort of kind of like jump on the bandwagon, or not bandwagon, but they didn't pivot until like maybe a month or two later. So the fact that I had already established myself and sort of kind of just like, you pick up your pizza from me, it's only one person that's making it. And it's just, there's no cross-contamination with COVID or anything like that. So I think the reality for me is, was I only just a temporary place in the pizza world? And now that, sort of COVID is slightly like a little bit more relaxed, do I still have that relevancy? So, that's something that I think about every single day. And I think I just deal with those own demons of just like having confidence.
Yeah. Will people show up?
Right.
Yeah. Who are the best brands, local brands, restaurant brands in LA that you look up to?
Well, people that have been doing it for a long time. There's Apple Pan, which is a burger place that's been around. Like my mom had that burger. Oh, like I love diners, like the Nickel Diner, Pans, restaurants. Like if you've been doing it for more than like 15 years, like that's amazing.
Yeah.
Restaurants like Providence, Mozza. I mean, I'm probably dropping a few, but people who have longevity in the game.
Yeah.
That means that they're still willing to grow, and still sky's the limit. They're reaching for something that's, in the future. And I think if you can sort of kind of like grasp onto a mentor like that, then, you have some seeds of knowledge.
Awesome. And then what do you think the Clippers do this year?
I mean, we're definitely going into the play-in. Better question is, what about the Brooklyn Nets, and what about the Knicks?
The Knicks. I was hoping you're not gonna bring up the Knicks.
I'm going to the game on Wednesday.
Yeah. So we're not making it in
at all.
At all.
At all.
However, I will say this: the Knicks not making it at all are still more relevant, and they're on the back of the New York Daily News 10 out of 10 times over the Brooklyn Nets, even if they are in the dance.
You know what's crazy? I know I'm in New York right now. Knicks love their teams.
That's right.
How are you guys? You guys aren't making it to the playoffs, yet you are still relevant for some reason.
It's the Mecca.
It's the Mecca. Okay.
It's the Mecca.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, I'm getting away from pizza, but why not a Lakers fan?
Oh, one I've never liked their color palette.
Okay.
Purple and gold was just never my thing. And I love cheering for the underdogs.
Okay.
So go Clippers.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank
you for being here.
Thank you.
Once again, Brandoni Pepperoni coming soon. Brandon, thank you again for being here. And
let's not forget about that Instagram handle too.
I was just gonna go there.
Oh, okay.
Go for it. No, you go for it.
LA_Brandoni_Pepperoni.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And I already checked. There's some amazing content on there. So
hopefully.
Yeah. Big plug for that.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.